Okay, so today is February 9th, and I just wanted to get into the power of the brain and confirmation bias, and what does that mean when making personal or business decisions, and what I've come across in the workforce, and working as a sales and operations at Gray Bar. So first and foremost, I'm pretty tired. It's 10 o'clock. I've been studying all day. Just reviewing like this random stuff um, that I like to review on weekends. And I want to get into confirmation bias because, you know, like the brain isn't really as efficient as we may think as far as making certain decisions, right? Um, a lot of perception um, can persuade you as far as, okay, quick decisions, right? I mean, most of our decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis are relatively quick, right? I don't think you necessarily need a lot of brain power or most in most decisions. Um, for my experience, um, and I already talked about being open-minded, but you know, I think you're gonna seek what you find, and that's just from my experience. Um, if you're overly negative all the time, right? I mean, self hate is a big thing, right? Um, and and looking at yourself in the mirror, it has been is very important. I don't think nobody's perfect, but um, you know, I think negativity is something that's very common to to the human beings. I think what 80% of our thoughts are negative. I think a lot of it is if you're going to respond to that based off of a deep negative emotion. And from my experience, um, you have to ask yourself, okay, why am I mad? Why am I sad? Or why am I feeling a certain emotion at a particular time? Because that's what an emotion is, right? An emotion is kind of like something that emotions are short. I mean, very few people have emotions for a long time, right? And being able to really turn around negative thinking into into a positive movement, right? I'm not gonna lie to you. One thing that I have is I have really big control issues, right? Really big control issues, man. And and like I think it comes from a deep negative emotion um that I act upon. That okay, well you can't control everything, right? Only thing that you really can control, based off of reality is yourself, right? You can't control somebody else, right? I can't control what that guy says. I can't control what that guy does, right? Only thing I can control is how I respond and how I act and the things that I do, right? And I try to be real as possible, right? And I try to lead by example, right? If I'm not doing it, I mean, I don't expect you to do it, right? If I'm doing something, right, then I'm going to expect everybody else to do it, right? I mean, I don't really believe in the whole management thing. That's just lame. I believe that you have to lead by example. A lot of times in this corporate world, we kind of see managers not necessarily doing that, right? That's what they are. They're managing resources, people, right? But they're not necessarily leading by example, right? And one thing that I noticed about my boss is always on time, right? My boss is always on time. Literally, the dude's always on time, right? I think that's something that he inherited when he was young, and that's just something that he just kept doing, And one thing that I had to take a hard look at myself and say, okay, well, I think you gotta be able to do the easy things right. Right? One plus one equals two. Two plus two is four. Before you start going into more of the complex stuff, right? If you just skip past the easy shit and go into the hard shit, you're gonna fuck it up. And that's kind of like when I've been learning, um, and being able to consistently move toward a goal has very been it's been very impactful. And this kind of goes back to what I said, right, about negativity and loving yourself and having a confirmation bias, right? Because you just want to seek what you find, right? If you're constantly negative all the time, constantly complaining, first of all, people don't like complainers, right? People don't like the complainers, the unlucky, and the overly negative. Right? People are out here talking crazy. Like people don't. I mean, I personally don't want to be around people like that, right? And one thing that with me is like, okay, I gotta learn how to settle, right? I'm always trying to move forward. I'm always trying to move forward. I'm always trying to move forward at a fast pace, and that's just inner anxiety. Um, but there's got to be a period of time where you got to kind of like you have to learn and grow over a long period of time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not. I'm an American, right? And I grew up, you know, and I pretty much grew up in a fast-paced city, right? So I mean, we have a certain urgency that most people don't have, right? You got to be reasonable in a sense, right? With the people around you, and that's your best route. Like I think there's a guy from the CIA. He is a CIA operative. I forgot his name, but he pretty much says that the only way you're going to really get ahead and you have to get people on your side, right? You have to get people on your side. A, B, you have to think like those people, right? You can't be thinking differently than in a group. And I can see if you have integrity and you doing things that might go against your code or whatever you want to live your life, but in a work environment or any group environment, you kind of really want to kind of roll with the flow in a sense and know that okay, I'm not in a bad group, right? They're going to kind of lead me in the right direction, right? And I'm a real believer of you're going to only going to get as far as a person leading that group, right? So if the person leading the group is a fucking idiot, I mean, you're not only going to get that far, right? So I mean, and that's just how I am. I try to, I went to a military school, and a lot of it is just extreme trust and extreme control issues. But working in a structured environment is very challenging because you have to trust the people around you to get the job done, right? I mean, there's only a few people that I personally know that can really kind of go out here and make, you know, I mean, you might be able to make a little living, if you're a barber or something like that, but you're not really making a lot of money as a barber, right? I think that's an independent contractor job, you know. Even then, if you want to be a skilled technician, you have to have years of working underneath somebody else so they can show you the job, right? And with me, I have a personality where I analyze the fuck out of people, and I mean, I'm not really scared of nobody, but in a sense that okay, it's a lot. Sometimes it's a lot better to really take a look and to think before you speak. And this goes back to what confirmation bias, right? Negativity, negative thoughts, right? Because I'm a real believer of as soon as you open your mouth, that's when you tell the world who you are as a person, right? So you can't really just be talking crazy or saying whatever you want. A lot of times you have to really think before you speak, right? Even in moments where you really want us to say what you want to say on top of your head, you just can't do it, right? And from there, you're going to make a decision. I learned real quick that certain people are not going to say anything to you, right? They're just going to let you keep doing what you're doing until you're gonna crash out per se, right? Um, and if someone says something to you or tries to help you correct a certain situation about yourself, and it's a serious matter, you got to go out and recorrect that, right? And that's just kind of like what I learned and what I'm dealing with. Um, Obviously, I'm studying for the CPA license right now, and this has been hell on wheels, man, of the day. And this is it. I think Monday is in about 2 hours. I gotta wake up tomorrow morning for my corporate job, and I'm just gonna continue doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And the biggest lesson for me is to not act upon your emotions and not act upon negative emotions, right? Because the brain does not work in a way that's going to optimize our decision making, right? Because if you have an intense and negative emotion, you're going to act upon that, right? And my brain chemistry is just kind of just fucking weird. So I want to be chill, successful. Successful and chill. I want to make it look easy, right? I don't necessarily want to make it look hard doing the shit. And I think you running around and taking control of every little thing. It shit is weird, right? This shit is fucking weird. People gonna scope it out. That guy's trying too hard. I don't like him, right? That's just like the concept. People are not gonna really tell you that, but they're gonna look at you and then they're gonna say that, right? Um, and that's nothing wrong with taking initiative to do things. But you kind of have to kind of like look and kind of see. I want to be chill, successful, and make intelligent decisions, and not necessarily off of a negative emotion, right? And take criticism and improve on that. This fucking CPA license is taking me forever to study. It's just a process of learning it, and that's about it. I hope everybody have a nice day.